That always startles me. Okay, so I'm really excited about today because I want to talk about my favorite pose. I'm the teacher, so I get to do that. So today, I wanted to break down triangle pose and almost make it not like a normal class. Like we'll skip the shavasana, and we'll skip the centering, and we'll just kind of get right into it, which is it's something that I do for my own personal practice. I get into one pose for the week, or maybe a couple poses for the month, and really focus on just a few poses or one pose. And it's amazing how much progress a person can make when you do that. So what we'll do is let's start with a bit of yin. So we'll get you into a pose and then I'll explain everything. So from Dandasana staff pose, we'll head into bound angle. So as always, if you need blankets or blocks or anything like that to support, where are mine? Here we go. You can get those and then bring the soles of the feet together and draw them in towards the body, allowing the knees to fall out towards the sides, and then get things that are able to prop you up. Try to have equal things on each side if needed, maybe a blanket, or maybe you want to kind of rest your head on a block or two. And I'll get our timer going. Usually in yin, if you're a teacher, you're supposed to like have your voice be like softer. So I'm going to try to do that, but you know me, I get excited. So with bound angle, what we're obviously doing is opening up through the hips, and triangle pose, we need kind of an insane amount of openness in the hips. So this is a great pose to start with to get things opened up. And then once we actually get into doing triangle, I want to kind of break it down a little bit and give you guys a few kind of tips and tricks on how to maximize the triangle and make it a bit easier. But for now, I'm really enjoying Baddha Konasana or bound angle, or butterfly as it's called in yin. Relaxing into it. One of the things I like to do is really lean into whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing in a pose. So what I mean by that is, I actually mean that on and off the mat, into whatever it is that we're doing. Sometimes in life, things aren't comfortable. Didn't actually mean to get all like existential in our yoga class this morning, but it's just a thought that popped up. Sometimes things are not comfortable. So it doesn't mean force it or push it, but allow what comes up to come up. And if it's too much, then scale back a bit. But just as I'm here in my Baddha Konasana, I'm remembering one of my yoga teachers 20 years ago-ish. And he talked about how the body stores memory, obviously in our brain, but also in various parts of our body, including the hips. And so he said, it's the weirdest thing, but every time he goes into Baddha Konasana, he has a flashback to grade 6 dodgeball, like gym class. And he said, I don't know why, but there must be that memory stored in the hips. And I'm actually noticing that right now. I have just little flashes of little memories. So I believe this to be true. And not all memories are great. I mean, I don't know if he never did tell us if that was a good memory, or I don't know, maybe he was terrible at grade 6 dodgeball. I don't know. But I loved dodgeball in grade 6. But when it comes to memories, sometimes things are pleasant and sometimes they're not. So when I do hip openers, I like to take a deep breath and just allow it to happen, to see what comes up. We're almost done here. So just another couple deep breaths. Last one. And when we move in yin, we like to move slowly. And even more so, I like to come out just a little tiny bit and hold. And then come out the whole rest of the way. And we'll return to Dandasana staff pose, moving like a sloth. And then the next one is forward fold, seated forward fold. I like to be up on a blanket. We want to at least be a 90-degree angle. So if you're not very flexible in the hamstrings, being up on a block or a blanket is really helpful. I like to help my body be a little bit more forward. I also like the extra cushioning. So with the feet forward, oh, now my timer is way over there. I'm not that flexible, nor are my arms that long, sadly. So this isn't like Paschimottanasana in Hatha yoga where you want to really lift up and lengthen and all of that energy, but rather relaxing into it. So I even like to have the feet a little bit apart just to make it more accessible. And then what you can do with the blocks is place them between the knees and then place the forehead on the blocks. Or if you're a little bit more flexible, you can place them all right onto the shins, same thing. So whatever works for you setting up, we'll get our timer going. And feeling that softness in through the backs of the legs. And this too is a bit of a hip opener. So we might feel a little bit of emotions. We might have a few flashes of memories. So whatever comes up, letting it come up. Unless it's too much, in which case we back out of it a little bit. And just slow, deep breathing. One of the reasons I like to continue slow, deep breathing in yin rather than just being calm is two things. One is to increase oxygen flow to the muscles, always helpful. And I also like to soften even more on every exhale. It gives you something to focus on while you're in a nice deep stretch. And by deep, of course, I mean as far as the body will let you today. And technically, for triangle pose, it's mostly the adductors or the inseams of the legs that are feeling the stretch, but everything's connected. When you get into triangle pose, you start to realize how you just need all four sides of the leg to be flexible. We're going to focus on mainly the hamstrings and the inseams today, though. And we'll watch how that can improve our triangle pose, Utthita Trikonasana, by quite a little bit. So in our last moments here already, relaxing everything that doesn't need to be used. So the neck, the shoulders, and even relaxing the legs. I noticed my legs were tense. Probably a little bit of habit from Hatha yoga. So really relaxing. From here, coming out just a little tiny bit, pause. And then coming out all the way nice and slow. And then we'll head into straddle. So I'm going to turn to face the long edge of my mat because I like to do that. So this is similar to Upavishta Konasana in Hatha Yoga, but not exactly. We want to step the feet apart as far as they'll go, actually. And then getting whatever you need. I kind of like to have a blanket forward of me or blocks or something. I'm going to get our timer started in just a moment. Very gently, I'm going to reach for my blanket. Okay, one of the things with straddle is we really want to be upright. I always say in class, if it's a struggle to stay upright, bring the hands behind you. But the truth is, the sooner we can be upright, the more efficient our stretching becomes. So being up on a folded blanket or even a lower block, if you need more than that, then let's just stay here. But if you can, a folded towel or blanket, and allow yourself to be forward, even if it's just a little bit. And then having the knees still pointing upright. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. So if another teacher says, allow the knees to move forward, that's not necessarily wrong. It's just what we're doing today. So I have one leg that likes to tip inward and one that likes to kind of almost go the other way. Just a bit of a muscular imbalance. Probably my right backside of my leg is stronger and my left inside of the leg is stronger due to who knows what. But when you have a mat like this, I've got like a rubber mat. And so I can sometimes get that block to sort of stick there and it helps keep my knees pointing upright. Just a fun trick. Okay, now we'll get our timer going. And the reason is because this is one of my favorite stretches. So I want to make sure we get maximum time here. Couple deep breaths just to get going. For some reason, this is one of the most elusive stretches in yoga. I don't know what the science is behind that. It's one of the most challenging ones to increase flexibility on. So more gentleness, more time, more patience is required. Of those, probably the most important is time spent in this position. So if you are starting to get a bit serious about your yoga practice, if you're watching TV, set up your yoga mat on the floor, some blankets, that kind of thing. If you're scrolling on Facebook, may as well hop into straddle gently. As the body gives you more space, heading into the pose a little bit more. Relaxing anything you don't need. So maybe propping up on some blocks. And our last few moments here. Taking a few slow, deep breaths. and knowing that you might have some memories or flashes in this pose as well. I did, but I don't think it has to do with memory being stored in the hips. I think it's because I've been watching reruns of House MD, and last season, because I'm kind of binge watching, Wilson was saying to Cuddy that he had feelings for her and she didn't believe him. And he's like, yeah, it's not true. And just now it's like, well, but did he though? Like, maybe he actually did. And is that something I can Google? Like, does anyone out there know if he actually did like her? Because I don't know. I think they would have made a good couple. So that's where my mind wandered off to in the middle of this stretch. Coming out just a tiny bit and pause. And then all the way up. And this is where it gets fun. So we'll head all the way up to standing. Take your time, take your time. And then we'll do a couple of sun salutations. And I want to show you one way that you can modify sun salutations for yourself or your students. If there's a wrist injury, this variation won't work. But if someone is just like, I don't know, sun salutations are too hard, or I just don't want a really strong practice today. So we'll stand up at the top of our mats in Tadasana mountain pose. So lifting up nice and tall. And here we go. We'll inhale, raise the arms up, and exhale, forward fold nice and slow. And since we stretched first, you might notice, oh, I can go just a little bit further than usual, maybe. Inhale, looking up for flat back. And plant the hands. From here, we send the feet back to plank like usual. Scoop the belly in, but instead of continuing on, we lift the hips up and back straight to downward facing dog. So we skip chaturanga and cobra. And also for the purposes of our class today, I mean, it's nice to get full body stretch and strength every class, but it's just kind of not possible to do the whole body. So may as well focus on one area. And we're focusing on back body today, like lengthening through the hamstrings and the inseams of the legs. So this is a good variation to really kind of hyper focus on those areas. So we'll send the feet forward all the way to the top, looking up for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, all the way up, reaching up high. And on the exhale, returning to Tadasana mountain pose. Number 2. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, plant the hands. We'll slow it right down. We'll inhale, which is different than usual, back to plank. And then we'll exhale all the way up and back to downward dog. So feeling that length in the backs of the legs. And seeing if you can switch things up a little bit. So if my legs are really straight, I feel that more in the hamstrings. If I do a little bend to the knees, I feel that more in the Achilles tendons. And if I do sort of an in-between, I can feel my calves. And I can sort of do the same thing if I walk it out a little bit. So I try to crack my knee. I don't know if that picked up on the recording, but I like to try and get all of those 3 areas while I do down dog.
So if you kind of go on your tiptoes a little bit, you can get a bit of a toe stretch, more of the Achilles. And then as you straighten, we can get into the calves. And then send the feet forward all the way to the top, looking up for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high. And exhale to a tall mountain. Just one more. On an inhale, raise the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, release. Inhale, send the feet back to plank. And exhale, pressing up and back to downward dog. Few deep breaths here, trying to access the full length of the legs in the stretch. And send the feet forward all the way to the top, looking up for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high. And exhale to a tall mountain. From here, we'll actually head into triangle and just see how it is. We'll do triangle a couple times during class today. So facing the long edge of the mat, right toes pointing forward, left toes tipping inward. So this is kind of a medium-sized stance, so not as long as warrior, but I like a nice long stance. And arms go up to a T position. So let's try triangle once first, and then we'll break it down. So we lean, reaching, like your legs are stuck in mud, reaching along an imaginary shelf. And then when you can't reach anymore, place that hand onto the shin as the top arm reaches high to the sky. So from here, we're kind of trying to target the inseam of the leg. We might feel it in here too, which is okay, but try not to banana, but rather lengthen through the spine. And another fun little alignment check is look down to your front foot. And if your nose isn't directly above it, draw the body back in line. So not just the shoulders, so we arch, but the whole body back in line. Breathing deep. And to come out, belly scoops in all the way up. If it's too difficult to come up with straight legs, you can always bend the front knee. But traditionally, we keep those legs straight. And then we switch sides. So first coming back to mountain to sort of reset. And then other side. So we face the long edge of the mat by taking a big step back with the right foot. And then just shuffle the feet as needed for that heel to arch alignment. In a nice long stance, but not too long. Arms go up in a T position. And same thing again. So reaching past the left toes. And then place the left hand onto the shin, top arm high to the sky. Same alignment checks. So I try to think of arching my spine with my left ribs down, my right hip and shoulder up. So I feel like I'm trying to make a U shape with my spine sideways. And then that other check is look down and try to get the entire body right up over top of the front leg. If it's not, draw the body back in line. And we're, of course, spinning the heart open to the sky. Holding, holding, holding. And then scoop the belly in, coming all the way up. And then we head back to Tadasana mountain pose. I'd like to do triangle again, mostly just focusing on the legs. So when we take a big step back with the left foot, one of the things that we don't talk about too much in class, but if you place the hands on the hips, I'm not directly 100% facing you guys, but when we do the reaching, like this part, we want to allow that left hip to raise up. And that requires length in the inseam of the leg. So you actually feel the right hip tilting down and the left hip up. So this is how the pose really gets going. And then we reach. You can just sort of get rid of this arm, place it behind you even. And that kind of getting rid of that top arm kind of helps to, if you place it behind the back, it helps you prevent like slouching. So keeping it open, you can even clasp onto the inseam of the leg. That looks funny on camera. It looks like I have no arm and it's just like a hand right from my ribs. That's weird. Okay, so feeling that stretch on the inseam of the leg, let that left hip come up. So we're just here for a stretch. Holding, breathing, smiling, because we're in triangle and it's awesome. Few deep breaths. And belly scoops in. And come on all the way up, nice and slow, mostly just for the legs. And then we head back to Tadasana mountain pose, preparing for that second side. So we'll take a big step back with the right foot and shuffling the feet as needed. Remembering we are now lifting the right hip way up and the left hip way down as much as possible. As we reach, the right hand now will come behind the back to keep that heart open to the sky. And it helps just focus on the stretch. So placing the left hand onto the shin. It also prevents that banana action with the spine. So it's a really nice way to practice triangle. And it also prevents you from going too far away from the leg. Yeah, I can't go as far into the pose because of all of those things keeping me in good alignment. It's amazing what the body can do to kind of cheat, which is amazing. It means our body is really resilient. It'll allow us to do all sorts of things, but we have to make sure we do have that good alignment. And then slowly belly scoops in. We come on all the way up and release back to Tadasana mountain pose. Now there's one more stretch I want to do to allow triangle pose to really take shape. It's kind of a fun one, not going to lie. And like Carla fun, not most people fun. So what we want to do is get something squishy if you have it, or be on carpet or something like that. A couch cushion works the best. Folded up blanket also works good. It's frog pose. So this is on our knees, and then we send the knees as far apart from each other as possible. So which direction am I going in? I don't even know. So one knee goes on one blanket. I can't have both of my blankets on my mat because the mat is so sticky. It won't allow that sliding. So This is uncomfortable, not gonna lie, but it's so effective. So slide the knees away from each other. And we hold for some time. We just hang out here for a little bit. And then your arms are kind of preventing you from going too far, right? It's a little bit of an arm strengthener. And I have people ask me sometimes, like, should the hips be forward of the knees or behind the knees? And the truth is, at first, like if you haven't really ever done this before, it doesn't matter. Just survive this one, you know? Should the toes be together or not, doesn't really matter. It's a bit of a different stretch if your hips are forward or back of the knees, behind the knees. And if you are quite flexible, then you can do all of them, I recommend. So sitting back so that your hips are behind the knees. And then it's sort of more like a splits if they're in line. And then forward is more of really in that inside the hip joint kind of thing. So all of the angles is best. And or where does it stretch the most if you're extra flexible? So if you can't even see my other knee on camera, but I'm stuck now, not moving now. If you need to come out early, by all means, listen to your body. Otherwise, hang out here. This is amazing how much this helps triangle. This is kind of fun. So we're over the halfway point here. If you need to come out for a few moments and come back in, that's okay too. Otherwise, hold. Last few moments here, maybe 20 seconds or so. And to come out, same. So come out a little bit and then pause. And then, oh boy, however it works. It's almost as challenging to get out of that pose sometimes as it is to get into it. So then we try triangle one last time after all of those stretches. So coming up again to Tadasana mountain pose. I like to just sort of make some organic movements after that one. That was a doozy. I like it though. So we take a big step back with the left foot. And if your hips don't feel loosey-goosey right now, I don't know what will make them. So heel to arch alignment, arms go up in a T position, belly lifting up, reach. So allow the hips to shift. So hopefully you feel like, oh yeah, they move more. And then place the right hand onto the shin, left hand high to the sky, double check. We're doing kind of what we're trying to do is like a U shape with the spine. You're not actually trying to make a U, you're trying to make a straight line, but that feeling. And then look down, be sure the body's right above the leg, and then top arm high to the sky, breathing deep. And then while I'm here, I try to think, lift the left hip higher and lower the right hip. And belly scoops in, coming all the way up. I know I for sure went lower that time than any of the other times. Hopefully you did too. Coming back to Tadasana mountain pose, and we'll head into the other side. So big step back with the right foot so that we're doing the left side. And moving the feet as needed. Arms go up in a T position, double checking we're allowing that right hip to lift up, left hip to drop, and then left hand onto the shin, right arm high to the sky. So our alignment checks, spine is neutral, that right hip is still lifting up, left hip down, double check the body is over top of the front leg, and breathing deep, feeling that stretch. And scooping the belly in. Come on all the way up. And we'll return to Tadasana mountain pose. So that is all of the exercises I had planned for you today. And skipping Shavasana feels really bizarre and strange, but I think it's good. And I think it's fun to just sort of focus on a few of those stretches. So I hope that you have a really good rest of your day. And I will see you next time. And I'll put this on the YouTube channel. So that's kind of fun. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.